We'll start with Steve Walsh, reappointment of Baltimore County Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Welch, we were informed by the administration that due to a family emergency, he was not available today, but that he would be available on Monday, so he can make any comments or answer any questions then.
Okay, Joanna Winkler. Okay.
I don't know if that was available.
Okay, I think we're joined by Anthony Patel and Councilman Crandall and Councilman Mark is on his way. So Richard Bernstein. Okay.
Again, I didn't anticipate his attendance or non-attendance.
Is that for the ag board?
Yes.
Could I just take a statement for Richard Bernstein?
I'm sure he'll, go ahead. I mean, I'm sure he'll be here Monday, I guess.
Okay. So Richard has a farm up in North County, First Fruit Farm. They do outstanding work in Mount Carmel, and he was visiting. And Richard and I went to school together a long time ago. And Richard was a great long distance runner. And I always tried to beat Richard when I was came third and came in first. But anyhow, good man. I think he's an outstanding appointment, a nominee for this appointment.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you. And want everybody take a moment to wish Councilman Batoka happy birthday.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, moving right along. Director of Environmental Protection and Sustainability. A lot.
Right here.
Yes. He's the one that's fine. Well, where's Miss Rogers? Somebody check in the other room. I don't know.
So that's all.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Horacio Tablada, OHT here for the record. Director of the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability. I'm here today to request your approval of the 2-year joint funding agreement with the USGS and the United States Geological Survey, which is part of the Department of the Interior, to continue the monitoring of the 19 stream gauges that we have around the county. And also they will be installing 2 new tidal gauges in different places in the county. This being for the last 48 years, since 1975, we've been having a relationship with the USGS. Every 2 years we come back to the council for approval for these 2-year contracts. And that's something that they do, that's a specialty, to do stream monitoring. They do it well. It's an ongoing monitoring, it's continuous monitoring. So we get sensitive changes in the stream flow, even up to 1/10 of an inch. So that's very good for us to help us with the infrastructure issues. If there's any water leakage, is there any sewer leakage, we can immediately notice those. And also to see how the water is flowing into the reservoirs. The county's contribution is 79%, and the USGS is 21%. The contract will start, the agreement will start October 1 in this year. So with that, I'll stop and I'll glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Right, any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Tablada. Thank you so much. Next, we'll move on to Chris Mark, Officer of Information Technology. Chris, how are you doing?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. This is for a fiscal matter for a countywide contract with Presidio Network Solutions LLC to provide qualitative and comprehensive risk assessment focused on security program governance, process and security of IT infrastructure architecture. The reason Presidio was selected is they were the quickest to respond and lowest cost provider compared to similar services. And we can also use them for a cooperative agreement. This is a third party that we're forming a security segment of Baltimore County to provide to Maryland Department of Health. With a letter outlining the outcome of that assessment by December of this year. This letter is required as part of the data use agreement between the state of Maryland Department of Health and Baltimore County Department of Health entered into on April 14, 2023, and the state of Maryland executive order that requests agencies to annually inventory data. This initial one that we have to do is a total of $57,500. But we're setting up this agreement. We know we have 12 other agreements through different departments and offices with the state. So this contract gives us, would give us a total compensation cap not to exceed $3.9 million.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Martin. Any questions or comments from the members? Yes, Councilman.
So, when the county asks you what a cooperative procurement to obtain these things, right?
Correct.
How do we make sure that the hourly, where they see hourly fulfilled work is, we want to meet the children as the best value for the hourly rate?
Sure. So we review as part of the contract, we review the contract, outline with exactly what they're going to review, what we're going to provide. But then there's also a statement of work that goes along with that. And the statement of work really is where we start identifying exactly what they're going to be doing in the process.
All right. Any additional questions or comments from the members? There are none. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to page 34, Ms. Laura Rowley, Department of Aging. Vantage Conference and Expo.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members
Good
of the
evening.
council. The administration is requesting approval of an exhibit services contract with Advantage Conference Expo LLC for our PowerPage Expo for fiscal year 24. The contract will provide exhibit services for annual event, their fundraiser at Twin Fairgrounds. We expect over 5,000 older adults, caregivers, persons with disabilities, et cetera, to attend the event. The estimated cost of the contract is based on estimated utilization of the exhibition space and the appropriate amount of accoutrements, but we don't get billed until after the event to know exactly how many square foot of carpeting and display and all of that we use. The original contract is for 1 year with an option to renew for 4 one-year renewals under the same terms and conditions, assuming federal, state, or other grant funds are available.
How much is it?
It is not to exceed 306,856 over the course of the 5 years.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you very much, Ms. Rowley. Moving right along to page 38, Mr. Matthew Carpenter, Office of Budget and Finance.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of council.
Good afternoon.
The administration is requesting approval of a contract with Cradian Inc. to provide annual maintenance of mailroom equipment utilized in the Office of Budget and Finance mailroom. The contract commences upon council approval and continues through May 14th, 2024, and may be renewed for 3 additional one-year periods. The estimated compensation totals $207,680 for the entire 3-year and 7.5-month term. The contract will provide for annual maintenance of equipment, including standard maintenance of the system, and press subscription fees, meter rental, online rate maintenance, and is applicable for all devices for mail equipment within the office. The mailroom provides mailing services for all internal county agencies. The county awarded this contract as a cooperative procurement of an existing competitively bid 5-year state of Arizona, which is in partnership with NASPRO Value Point, and the agreement was awarded on November of 2021.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Carpenter.
Sure.
I see we have, Mr. Richard Bernstein just came in.
So that came right out of the field.
Come on in, have a seat up front here. And we have you down for being, let me see, appointed to the Baltimore County Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board and being the chair at that.
That's right.
So thank you for being here today. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great. Longtime Baltimore resident, Milfordville, Johns Hopkins. Worked at Alec Brown Sons for a long time in our advisory. Started a ministry 25 years ago called First Fruits Farm in Baltimore County. It's grown over those years to about 280 acres, 250 acres worth of vegetable production, nonprofit, usually the largest supplier of the Maryland Food Bank and a whole bunch of others in the region. I retired from Brown 6 years ago to facilitate or I guess help with the transition to the next generation. And I'm very much interested in the land that has been preserved by Baltimore County and some of the economic plans that I hope will go along with that, which will enable, I hope, the next generation to be able to have more opportunities to make a livelihood out of agriculture here in Baltimore County.
Well, thank you so much for your willingness to serve and appreciate you stepping up. And I look forward to your vote on Monday night. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Councilman Bato?
Mr. Bernstein, or can I just call you Richard?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I said some really nice things about you before you came in.
I don't believe any of those.
But thank you for what you do. Really appreciate. I've known you for,
And
good 50 years. Yeah.
So,
I mentioned to everyone what a great long distance runner you were back then. I don't know if you're doing it today, but you were good back then.
what I did back there.
But anyhow, thank you for what you do. I visited First Fruits, a really impressive operation. And I think you were extremely helpful during the pandemic for providing produce to many of the communities that were.
Yeah, we did a lot with the county and continue to do a lot with Maryland Food Bank and other, and the close relationship with the Maryland Food Bank.
Ms. Rogers?
Thank you. I just say personally, I want to thank you. During my tenure at Social Security, we partnered with Maryland Food Bank and I personally gleaned in Ms. Clark's cornfield.
Okay, I do know that.
I have pictures of this huge tractor trailer of corn that the Social Security staff and I were able to pick, because this is after harvesting what's left. We're able to pick, and it goes to the Maryland Food Bank. And it was like a huge tractor trailer of corn. And that was one of the most enjoyable experiences I had my tenure at Social Security.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the gentleman from Social Security that arranged that, Dan somebody.
I remember Mark Hurst.
Yes.
Yeah.
From United Way, I think Maryland, who passed away now, but Mark and I were in
Yeah, amen. Good stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much.
Are you gonna abide by the promise you made to me that you were only gonna vote for buying development rights in the third district? Remember?
Good, my memory banks. Now I'm eager to see
Is
that.
there a third district?
I get this all confused. I'm eager to make sure that as many opportunities happen for young people as possible. Thank you.
Well, again, we thank you very much for your willingness to serve and look forward to voting for you on Monday night. Thank you very much.
Stay or?
Oh, you don't need to leave now.
Right. The upperclassmen of Calvert Hall. So I'm headed back out to the street.
All right. Well, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Richard.
Appreciate it.
Great to see you.
And next we have Ms. Winkler. Come right on up, have a seat. Again, Ms. Winkler, thank you so much for coming in. We understand you are coming involved in the Conservation Advisory Board. We thank you for your willingness to serve, and if you don't mind, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name's Joanna. I own Good Dog Farm with my husband Brian, we're in Africa. It's a 25-acre certified naturally grown vegetable farm. And we were able to purchase that land through the Marbidco Next Gen program, which, you know, so we worked a lot with Megan to develop a piece of that program that we were really, you know, being able to make sure that our farm would be farmland forever. And also, it allowed us as first generation farmers to be able to purchase that land and stay in Baltimore County. We had been renting land in Baltimore County. So I'm really excited about, you know, giving back to this program and helping to make it, you know, accessible to all sorts of different types of farmers.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for your willingness to serve, and appreciate you putting down roots here in Baltimore. No pun intended. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Thank you. Hearing none, we thank you so much for coming in, and again, we look forward to voting for you Monday. And if you have somewhere to go, Monday, if you might.
Thank you.
Sure. Who's your friend? Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, move on back to page 41, Mr. Cherry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mr. Council.
Good afternoon.
Hope everyone had a good summer.
Absolutely.
I am here on behalf of the administration requesting council approval of a contract with Kite House Inc. At an initial cost of about $797,000 in HARP funding, provide consulting services on a number of critical housing programs, including efforts calculated to increase funding resources available once our COVID funds are expired. The agreement will commence upon council approval, continue through November 30th, 2025, with 5 additional one-year renewal periods. And the county awarded the contract as part of a cooperative procurement. We've got some really time-sensitive opportunities that we wanted to take advantage of while the time is right. First and foremost is HUD has recently announced what's called their Pro Grant, an extremely competitive RFP for $85 million, where counties can compete for up to $10 million to work on supporting local housing production. One of the things it would allow us to do was start to develop new funding for housing locally without relying simply on general or emergency funds. So we have a consultant that's only going to work with 2 jurisdictions nationally, where we would be one of them if the council approves the agreement, which is due at the end of October. So we've already started working on it locally, but we need help. This is also a unique opportunity for us to have an outside entity take a deep look. It's the first time we're at our housing office, make sure that we're maximizing the use of our housing resources, not only for production, but for support for people that are not good for homeless families, that's others. And then finally, we've been using the same housing finance tools for decades, and rely, I think, really heavily on funds and emergency funds for housing production. There's a number of new financing tools out there, and that will help us work through these internally to figure out the best ways to support our efforts moving forward. So we were able to get them on short notice. This is what we were
Okay, Mr. Hickey, I tell you, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. I was so happy when you came here, and I thought, finally, Mr. Hickey, he's appointed. So now I'm thinking to myself, self, we have Mr. Hickey right now, our community development. Why do we need to spend $790,000 for a consultant? We don't know one thing. We need to $90,000 to tell you how to do your job. and not house one single person.
Sure. A big part of housing people is having the long-term funding to provide for that. So I'm not a housing finance expert and I'm not a like grant writing expert. We need help on those things. I'm going to get things done. I think I've done that. I also want to make sure that COVID funding is gone. All of the elements we're going to be working on are going to bring additional funding to the county to the tune of millions of additional dollars. I can't do housing without money. So this is meant to grow that. So this is an extension. We're going to use the ARPA money while we have it. It's a one-time piece. I think we get to grow and grow building agency. And this is a huge step forward to do things in a better way. So ultimately, the taxpayer help us increase the model.
Young, and then we go to Ms. Rogers to the council.
On board with vision goals. I'm guessing because of the timeline, limited your ability to kind of years as well as funding the contract for 7 years, 5 years. On avenues, so maybe competitive. We have a clear picture of what the next 7 years, but we know what statement looks like, what the exactly was.
Right. So this is what we get an expert we have on board. We won't spend money we don't have. So if an assessment of our housing division, let's say, comes up with new projects that we feel they need to work on, it gives us the opportunity to save time to continue to go back through the process. This is already a competitively bid better. We do a cooperative agreement. Some work with the county in the past. So it's a tool, it essentially it's a master agreement. So we would have to have funding and an additional specified project to keep working with this group.
Yeah, so in 6 months, after spending $797,000, what happened?
Could be done.
Could be done.
We could be done. We haven't done a real deep dive into our housing. The way we use our voucher and support services program, we haven't taken a look at. This group does. That's one of the biggest bulk of this is to do a full assessment. We've been fully assessing. Remember, even though we're new, some of our divisions have been around for decades without any real look at the best, most efficient way to use resources. So our goal for all of this is efficiency and long-term expertise. I'm hoping when this is done, this will be it.
Sure. And then you asked, so what's the purpose of 7 years? 6 months, we might be done. And this is, you already mentioned we're having to do this work, which is important to mention. So why 7 years and why 5 years? Not just automatic for me.
So we worked, I'm also not a procurement expert. So we worked with procurement, and what we typically do are on-call contracts where if there is a need, we don't have to go back through the entire procurement process. Because it's cooperatively bid, we could do it again in the same format, but it doesn't seem to make sense. We will, I think, through these programs, be reporting back to the council on the work we're doing. And I would fully expect you all to ask me where we come out at the end of the other 6 months. But we do that in tool to make sure that we don't have to keep taking up the council and staff's time to redo these cooperative agreements. Sort of like when we use anybody that we'd be using ongoing without a clear picture of what we'd be doing. We've not budgeted money for this. This for us is a one-time set of very specific tools. But if something comes up where we find out there's another HUD grant, there's a way for us to bring money in. And by the way, the VCA complainants reached out to us along with HUD to ask if we'd be applying for this grant. This is what I wish we would have done back when we signed the VCA, because this will help us establish a framework to help us be successful in those terms as well. But by the time we get done, if not, we'll have a vehicle come back and say, we need to do this one more. Here's where the money's going to come from.
Great, thank you.
Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and council members. Want to thank you all for the willingness to review this for us, because the timing sensitivity, I really want to thank Mr. Boswick for always being flexible and helping us, because the $50 million potential, that's why we move forward. The other thing I'd like to say that back in the beginning of administration, we reached out to HUD and tried to do some of this through their technical assistance program. And we were approved for money to work with enterprise. some of our line changes and staffing and, getting out of position three leadership. We had the money and we didn't. That's why it's highly successful in the jurisdiction in receiving awards for jurisdiction through HUD. So that's if we received the $50 million that they're going to help us, then, Mr. Chairman, that's where the benefit of what we use that $50 million for to house people or to help. And so, to me, that's the first residual benefit, their success rate. They only agreed in us and to only to go after this highly competitive. These numbers come so quickly that a lot of times organizations cannot respond. So we sometimes have to bypass money because we don't have the internal expertise in this area. Advocates or complainants, depending on what day, reached out to us, to say, are you all going to pursue this? This is why we thought this was, the time for us to try to go after this money. You needed help. Now, down the road with on call, if other numbers come out, then we will be able to try to engage them to help us with other grants. That's why we're going for the multiple year on call approach to it.
Councilman Phillips?
Thank you. So this one is confusing to me, and I think $100,000 probably use that for 6 months. And the notes here, it says that. So it's $800,000, but it's a 7-year contract. So is that, are we going to encumber $800,000 every 6 months?
I don't know. No. And I think the way this worked out, we were answering a lot of auditor questions that thought we kind of through them. And I want to make sure I go through it again, because I have studied before I came to, because again, not a procurement expert. We had a specific ask. We wanted help doing a deep dive into our housing office. We wanted a full workup, helping us develop the new housing finance tools. And we wanted to get this grant written by the end of October. That's what we cost out. We use a cooperative procurement agreement as a procurement tool. Instead of doing it, ending it after 6 months. What if the work takes a little longer? What if we find something broken or that we can take advantage of, or a new grant comes out? We already have a vehicle. We would have to go allocate, we'd have to work with OBF, we'd have to find different money to allocate to a different project, but we could still work with the same technical service provider and not have to go through the whole cooperative purchasing.
So we would renegotiate a contract.
It would be an open, so it's like a master agreement. So we have a master agreement. This group is part of a cooperative procurement group that provides a number of services to the county, including IT. So it allows us to take advantage of what they offer through that consortium. But we don't know what we're going to find yet. So when you do an on-call needs-based contract, a master agreement, you take as many renewals as you can in case something comes up and you use it. But again, just to be clear and as transparent as possible, we had 3 clear needs that were hugely time sensitive, and we put them down. I walked a little bit, and that's what we're going to use them for. Anything else would be something we don't know yet.
So notes. It says that the labor rates are going to be between $180 an hour to $391 an hour. So I did the math and I used $400 an hour to cover the high end. And that yields about 2,000 hours of work over 6 months. A lot of every day. It's a 10-hour day, 7 days a week, and a little bit more than that. So to me, if we're going to, it's a pretty significant investment, 800,000 for a 6-month period, and then the possibility of having, could not part of that contract be to build out the infrastructure, our own labor infrastructure, to do what this firm would do beyond the 6-month threshold?
I'd have to create a whole team. So let me go back real quick. First of all, it's incredibly labor intensive, and this is going to be an all hands on deck for us for the next 6 months. Because to be quite honest, the world is changing around housing production. We've had great conversations with all of you. We want to do smart housing. Housing is getting more expensive while we have less of it, and we need to be really, really smart about the tools we use. I've been working with NACO, different groups around the country. We are exploring things people aren't really thinking of yet, but with the way interest rates are, the way supply chain and the costs of construction, we have an opportunity to create some models right now. It's incredibly time sensitive. We have good people that haven't done this kind of work. So we're going to be throwing an entire team of folks from this. It's a housing division of CADS. They created a division specifically to work with the groups on high impact, short-term projects to get us up to speed. Train our folks, connect us, show us where they've done this in other places like Philly, West Coast, how we can adapt it here. Help us work with our budget office to make sure we don't make mistakes, that we make good use of these tools and our ability to develop funding and financing. I can't create, I'm not sure what job we even need, and I don't want to use ARP money to just a job that would operate in the next few months.
No, I'm not saying to jobs.
But this is ARP money, so money we get here will be gone.
I get that, but to me, we're going to use the ARP money, and at the end of the day, it's somebody's money, right? And kind of, we are people that are paying into that fund source. I think.
We pay federal tax.
Yeah. Right. So the question I have is, if I would, a prudent way to address this is to say, look, you're getting $800,000. Can you help me build my department so that we don't need you anymore? So that you can,
I'm sorry, that's exactly what we're doing. That's why initial term is 6 months.
why we have an additional, we're going to build out, look our in-house to look for these grants, to have access for, to have a robust group of people that are in-house.
Right. Fund renews and there, so there's a grant out there now that can contemplate the ability for us to retrofit buildings or sprinklers and infrastructure, federal money. I don't know, you apply for the bank comes up 3 days before.
I've tried to get it on.
We don't say that. But my point being, something like that comes up. No, I'm not saying that that's needed, right? Folks will be conference about that being something folks are looking at. Retrofit infrastructure, but in theory, we would have the ability to find the money to cover the, if we have the money for it. And it's money that isn't already going to housing or staffing. We would have the ability to use this agreement to go after that grant. Or what if we find, and I don't, what if we find that there's something in the production program that we need to do better or differently? And then now we need help to do it. We would have the ability to use this organization with our procurement system to do it. That's it. I don't want to create this there's a whole bunch of stuff. We don't have the money to do more of that stuff. So build an infrastructure, we need to apply for the grant. We get from HUD if we won the grant, including housing production and addressing local barriers. But we have the ability to do this work.
So they have a guarantee, and to me, it sounds like we're just turning over an incredible amount of money over a 6-month period for a product that we know what it is right now. We know what it could be.
Which one? So we spent a lot of time in county government doing the efficiency audit of a number of organizations. DHP was part of it, even though we have much more divisions like housing and housing finance. So we've never done a whole lot of is a formal in-depth process. They've done dozens around the country. We know at the end of the day, we'll know exactly how we're operating, how we can be efficient. Are we in full compliance with federal law? And more importantly, how can we spread our HUD resources farther to help more people, train our folks? It's really revolutionary. So we know exactly what we're going to get. These assessments are very tailored. What we're going to get is a full report that we then will be able to execute internally on our own. For housing finance, we know that there's tools out there that we aren't using. And I'm not individually able on my own to create models that I can talk to Kevin Reed and the budget team, that bring them back to you to say, these are great financing models that I trust. We know we'll get there. The smaller sliver of this whole process is applying for the grant. I don't know we'll win the grant, but I do know that A, we stand a very, very good chance of getting the grant with help that we won't get. There's also a federal NOFO for homelessness is due at the same time. My whole team's already working on that. And that's our whole homelessness project. What I do know is that we have a much better chance. I know that this group will help it. Even if we don't get the grant, becomes a roadmap for what we can do in terms here. And I know it's set for at least around the VCA plans that we're trying to build an infrastructure for real, which I think impacts us on the VCA side.
Do you have a sense of what your staff needs to be in fiscal 25?
We're actually working very, very hard on that right now. We are working on where we have fiscal gap space, because we've done a really good job, I think, of using COVID money to build and actually get things done with money. But we're looking right now, a lot of it depends on the more successful we are. We have to keep track of the units we build. We have to make sure people are following the rules with those units. So we're working with the AO on an in-depth plan for what it looks like to run a responsible DHCD long into the future that we are sure we'll be talking about in the budget process. And this is going to help us formulate that in large part too.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
And Councilman, I just want to reiterate again, early on in the administration, we thought to do justice. We wanted to have this in-depth analysis, but you know, we're held to the same standards and, you know, and housing authority. We're really not a housing authority. When we operate, we have to guide on us, but are we operating what is best in class? What are the best practices? The county has never invested in that type of analysis because you don't know what you don't know. You know, there are other things that we've had to explore to figure out what we're doing is the best way to go out doing this work. So when HUD said, oh yes, we'll give you money, we were all excited, and we're waiting. There's a new administration coming in, there's like, well, no, they have said that, but no, we're not doing that. And so everybody was disappointed in that, but we really do need to have this analysis done to know what we don't know and to do this better. So two of these things, you know, the potential to go after the $10 million, which then leaves us, if we get it, then we do have money to invest in housing people, as you said, Mr. Chairman. But the other thing is doing it in a responsible way. You know, we get money, but are we using it in the best way to leverage and to increase our housing stock, which is a requirement of the VCA? It was just interesting to me that everybody reached out to us to say, hey, you guys should apply. And that's what we're doing. But we cannot overlook the fact that there's limited capacity to do certain things in a way that would be better positioned to get the money. And this group has that reputation.
I don't want to belabor the discussion. To me, I was very supportive of creating a Department of Housing, very supportive of meeting our voluntary compliance agreement measures, and want to have housing opportunities for all. I just, after all this discussion, I won't belabor this point much further, but just to say this, is that after this discussion, I don't believe that I can explain what we're doing here to a constituent. So perhaps, Mr. Hickey, you could give me like 4 or 5 bullet points on what this is so that I could explain it to a constituent, because right now, maybe it's me, maybe it's my own limitations, but I've read this, I've looked, kind of done a little bit of very rough Germany, but I still want to be able to explain things that we discussed and, you know, we move forward with approval to constituent will make call. So I'm going to 4 or 5 bullet points on what this does and how the Baltimore County Vice Director that is pretty
Together very money to come to our job, what I've done with it. And at least up to this point, I think that if I were responsible for leading an organization that needs to be doing this work effectively for decades to come, I wouldn't be taking advantage of this opportunity now. So I'm glad to show you exactly why we're taking these steps. Okay.
Not. We'll move on. Thank you very much, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you.
And, where am I at? Page one. Oh.
Deputy Council Chair, members of the council, Resolution Fund is requesting a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $50,000. Standing for budgets for the program grant tower and supplies cost. As for the parts to the ball category, parts of $50,000 program as part of our out of school time grant time from 2023 through September 2025. These funds are used our part-time coordinator, team months. We're able to work with the staff and staff in the program. PCRP staff facilitate program implementation and evaluation of the program. For our goal is to heal, help, empower, and these member programs up and running the majority of those building managed by our district staff by September 2025. Especially since it's not our sir.
That's exactly 15 times 50,000 will get you 790. Any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Mr. Smith.
I'm sorry, can you call Director Smith back?
Oh, he's here. He's here.
Hi, Director Smith, how are you?
Well, sir.
I just want to say I appreciate your efforts on this. In reading through the fiscal note, we're having a little trouble with the audio. I think Councilman Ertel is probably having the same issues with audio that I am. So I've read more about it than I was able to hear you testify on. But it seems like an appropriate pursuit of this grant funding and a bit of creative thinking on hitting youth right where they are, to use that terminology. And I know that in certain rec centers, there are at-risk use. At-risk youth. And I think that there's one in particular in our neck of the woods that draws kids from some tougher areas, and they could probably benefit from an on-site mentor who is talking to them as they're participating in indoor soccer or other events. So I do appreciate the thinking on this, and we'll look forward to a yes vote on Monday on this particular matter on this bill. But thank you and your staff for your work on it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Okay, we'll move right along to page 4. Bill 5622, come again. Congratulations. Good to see you again.
A whole couple of weeks, Chairman and the rest of the council. So I'm here obviously on behalf of the police department. We have a grant award of $528,000 that's been received by the police department from the Vehicle Theft Prevention Council of Maryland for the regional auto theft task force is cracking down on auto theft reduction for analysis program, exceeding the approved fiscal 2024 appropriation $450,000 by $78,000.
which requested for the council approval of that additional $78,000 funding. The Baltimore Regional Theft Task Force is tracking down all of that program into successful statement. Well planned and executed to combat vehicle theft, crimes, and suspected occurrences of organized vehicle theft and related crime, rather than the isolated incidents of auto theft in the Baltimore region. Programs based on developing, analyzing, and sharing crime data drives comprehensive regional enforcement, crime prevention strategy. $78,000 of additional money will be utilized for purchase of emergency light kits for the grant vehicles, laptop computers for the street squad, license plate readers, and ballistic vest funding for the program. And the nice thing is there's no matching county grant money for this, sir.
Okay. Sounds great. Auto theft is certainly a problem and really hurting an awful lot of people,
Sir.
especially the people who are just barely able to purchase a car and only have liability insurance. When their car is gone or damaged, they're out.
Yeah, much like Chief McCall was talking about the mission master just like that.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments from the members? Councilman Patel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Colonel McCann. So agreed, if we were to auto thefts, it makes life easier for the victims, but also the victims that their vehicles used in another crime, the future victims. So I think anything we can put into this fund should be, that we could be, make it consistent with the level of auto thefts going on, we'd be making some progress here. Because from what I hear, this is increasing exponentially, not linearly, but exponentially. But I'm not going to believe at this point either. I do want to tell you, Colonel, and please pass my thanks and appreciation to the chief and to the command staff and to Captain Violet for the presence that the police department had during the Jewish high holidays in the parts of the second district that has large Jewish community. It was safe and largely due to the efforts of your department. So thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Last week, I asked for a copy of documents that police have to sign.
You have
And,
not received it yet.
right,
We did get it
We did.
actually.
We did,
I
okay.
need to circulate. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I need to circulate that to you.
thank you.
I'm sitting here, it's always interesting to me that every penny we expend has an opportunity cost. Every dollar we spend on a program, there's an opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is what else could you be doing with that money? So, I'm sitting here thinking $790,000, and there's an awful lot of citizens out there whose cars have been stolen, insurance, that are out of luck. I wonder maybe we should be giving grants to those folks, helping them become whole, but that's a different story. Any additional questions or comments from the members? No? Councilman?
These are not.
Right, these are not ARPA funds. 790,000 is.
Exactly.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. And now we will move on to Lawrence Richardson, page 7.
Yeah, can you hear me, Jones? Have 3 supplemental appropriations present. The first one is a supplemental appropriation amount of $6,810 for our HIV prevention services program. Baltimore County Department of Health. HIV prevention program offers a health education risk reduction service to ADAC's community partners and facilities. The staff will introduce the program, distribute flyers to clients, and clarify any outstanding questions. We currently have multiple sessions offered within Baltimore County Detention Center, other multiple substance abuse treatment centers, And the Multnomah County Department of Social Services is a community partner also. The additional funding, the supplemental funding will go towards increasing advertising for this program and towards salary and COLA increases for the staff program.
Okay, any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, just make a comment. I think it's so important that when people are released from our correctional facilities, that they do continue their treatments, whether it be for AIDS or hepatitis C. And I'm always glad to see programs like this. Because if we expect to get control over crime and recidivism, we've got to take care of these people who are being released. Got it, job training, healthcare, et cetera. So this is very good. I'm glad to see it.
The second bill is a supplemental. The administration is requesting approval for a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $93,968. This is for our partner services program. This partner services reviews the liability reports, mobility reports, and works with the Maryland Department of Health to identify new infections of sexually transmitted diseases, including syphilis, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and HIV. The program staff assists in linking county residents to the appropriate treatment and medical care for their infection. And they work with the infected individuals to assist in notifying partners of their possible exposure to infection and link those contacts to the appropriate STI testing treatments. The additional fund will be used to provide disease investigations for local county residents diagnosed with sexually transmitted infections. It's anticipated that this additional funding will be used to cover some salaries and also perform disease investigation activities, diagnosis of at-risk sexually transmitted disease and notification.
All right, any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, moving right along to page 13, Bill 5923.
The administration is requesting approval of a supplemental appropriation amount of $1,800,000 for Ryan White Part B supplemental award. This will provide case management services to eligible HIV positive Baltimore County residents with complex medical and psychiatric needs who meet the Ryan White eligibility criteria. So the services provided for residents within this criteria, meet the criteria of continuum of care within the medical and non-medical case management, emergency financial support services. Some of these services include co-pays, co-insurance, professional medical services, eviction prevention, utility turnoff prevention, medical transportation, food vouchers, and psychiatric support services. The funds for the supplemental will support multiple positions within our program, including 4 social workers, 3 public health nurses, 1 human services associate, and 3 human services associates, along with a nursing assistant, an outreach worker, and a data entry operator. We also will be supporting management analysts, human services assistant, and an office assistant to provide case management services to eligible Baltimore County residents.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much, Mr. Rich. Next, we'll move on. Guess we could have did this early. Page 16. Sorry, I didn't. I didn't see you over there.
No worries. Okay, so I have 2 supplemental.
Page 16, Bill 6023 and 6123.
So the administration is requesting approval to receive funds from the Maryland Department of Aging for the senior care program waitlist. These funds will assist in the elimination of the waitlist for the senior care program. It's funded by the Maryland Department of Aging to provide gap filling services for low-income older adults to avoid premature institutionalization. Services include home health care, medication assistance, medical supplies, and emergency response. The total grant award is $741,446, and we expect to serve approximately 100 clients.
Yes.
My birthday colleague to the right cannot vote on this bill because it'd be a conflict of interest.
Well, you'd have to include me in that.
You too?
You're September 24th?
I can vote.
So do myself.
Okay, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Turn 50 on Sunday.
When?
Oh, no, this is 60. You're not there yet.
They're not,
Okay, I'm getting there.
they're not there.
So all of what's
Okay, Ms. Rowley, I guess you're gonna go on to the next one, Bill 6123.
Okay. The administration is requesting approval to receive funds from the Maryland Department of Transportation for the Maryland Senior Rides Program. These funds will assist in the expansion of our volunteer transportation service for low to moderate income seniors. Through our home team program, volunteers provide door-to-door transportation for low income to moderate income seniors 60 and older who have difficulty accessing and using other existing transportation services for things like hospital appointments and grocery shopping. The total amount is $9,500 from the state with a 25% match required for the county for a total of $11,875. This is kind of a start to a pilot program that we're making, trying to do. So we anticipate about 20 clients will be served in the first year.
Okay. Sounds good. I certainly know how important mobility is to our seniors. And we want to make it as accessible and easy and convenient as possible. Any additional questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair. On the first bill, could we just rename that to David Marks bill?
I'll second.
Okay.
And I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, our Department of Aging does a great job. Seniors in this county, when you think of, we've been through the COVID situation, so many lovely people, and the services that you provide are second to none. I appreciate it so much, and as do my constituents, all the seniors in Multnomah County.
Weren't we the first department?
All right.
We were the first department of nation, I tend to believe, in the United States. One for.
I think that's another urban legend. I don't think so.
That sounds-
Created around the same time. They couldn't do it over American side.
Yeah.
But somebody had to be hurt.
So I
Okay.
had that little tagline.
Right. Never let accents appeal. Moving right along to page 22, Bill 6323, Councilman Young.
That is Bill 223, fine. In the context of signing regulations and exchange of acceptance that were in the general program, generally the sign regulations have set that definitions applicable only as signs that currently stand on the roof. Sign design is something that is erected upon the roof of a building, include the sign having its structural framework, element attached to it. In whole or part, however, the definition is exclude the sign erected upon the mansard roof, which is defined as an architectural alignment element having a roof-like appearance, which is above the main wall and has a slope of no less than 30 degrees. Bill 6023 adds a lean-to that definition of a exception, and amends the code to allow for a sign to be put onto a lean-to.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you very much, Councilman Young. Moving right along. Now it's Councilman Cat, page 23, Bill 6323.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me just say that this bill is very important to me. I believe that all of us, everyone, we benefit from learning from the past. And that way, hopefully, we won't make the same mistakes that our ancestors made. And which brings me to this bill, which deals with when an individual goes for a demolition permit on a building, that if the building was built before 1965, that our Preservation Alliance of Baltimore County should be notified. And that way they can determine whether or not that building has any historical significance. Unfortunately, over the last 20, 25, 30 years, this county has a very checkered record when it comes to preservation of historic properties. Before I do that, the reason I chose 1965 is when you take a look at 1965, 1950, they're called mid-century modern buildings. And you can tell them by, if you think of a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the hypotenuse of the triangle would be the roof of these homes. So they're flat and they go like this. If you travel the Beltway, get off on Liberty Road, go up to Milford Mill Road, make a left, you'll see a development, a small development with these homes that I'm talking about. And these homes are significant because right after World War II, there was a huge, everybody was so optimistic, and people were buying their own homes, moving to the county and everything. And that was a period of time when there were so many advances. For instance, I know my wife likes the dishwasher, was available at that time. When you look in Pikesville, there is one home that I could identify, a mid-century modern, that was designed by a famous architect. And if it was that your house?
Was designed by George Archer.
Yeah, okay, so you're both. Yeah, so, we wouldn't want something like that to be pulled down in Baltimore County. Now you take the next level, which is Art Deco. Those of you who know the Senator Theater, which is on York Road, south of Northern Parkway, inside and out, that is your typical Art Deco theater. We have one in Baltimore County, the Pikes Theater. And in fact, I just had a article from the Jewish Times where my colleague to the right was at the grand opening.
It was.
Yeah, and would you like to read what you said? Standing. This is what our council member said.
Standing near a large state-of-the-art movie screen, Izzy Patoka looked out at the hushed crowd seated in a darkened cinema at the Pikes Theater and yelled out, "Hey, anyone ever been here on a date before?"
Keep bringing it in.
No, never.
Okay. Yeah, okay. After laughter subsided, someone replied quite enthusiastically in the affirmative, to which Patoka, the affable Baltimore County councilman representing the second district, responded, "Wonderful, wonderful." Following a short pause, he then asked, "Was it a good thing?"
So anyhow, this is our county council member from the second district, and I hope you don't find that embarrassing. I don't, but anyhow, thank you for.
I was on a date there, but not.
Oh, with your wife or? Huh? Being at this event? I'm sorry.
No further comment.
Okay, good. So anyhow, the Pikes Theater is Art Deco building. It's significant. I don't know if inside it's Art Deco like the Senator Theater is or not.
Yeah,
But looking back at Baltimore County, if you take a look at Owings Mills, back in the early 90s, the Owings Mansion, a colonial home, Samuel Owings home, was a demolition permit was issued. Overnight, it was torn down. This is a significant building because it was the Owings family who founded Owings Mills. In fact, when I was in the state legislature, I sat next to an individual who is a member of that family, and he kept, bugging me about the fact that the county tore down the house, which was a significant loss to the county. It was colonial, so anyhow. The next one that went was a Queen Anne home at the corner of Shawan and York Road. It was in excellent shape. Demolition permit issued. It went down in the nighttime. That's how they did. They just tore it down at the nighttime. So anyhow, which brings me to the reason why I would like to see this bill or something close to it become law. In Cottonville, there was an IOOF Lodge.
Odd Fellows.
Huh?
Odd Fellows.
Yeah.
International.
The International Order of Odd Fellows, which was built around 1850. And you might say, well, what's the significance of this particular building and this particular organization? Well, let me just tell you, the IOOF was founded in Baltimore by a British immigrant who belonged to that society in Britain, in the UK. And they were the first organization in this country, first fraternal organization to accept women. And it's called the Rebecca Lodge. But the more important thing is that this group was very active during the Civil War in bringing the North and the South together, bringing them together and helping people who had suffered during the war. So what happened was that you got to remember 620 to 700,000 people were killed during the Civil War. Soldiers were killed during the Civil War. If this were today, it would mean we'd have about 7 million Americans killed. That's how dramatic it was. 20% of every individual who was fighting died. They died during the Civil War on both the North and the South. So in September of 1865, a few 4 or 5 months from the time when General Lee surrendered to General Grant in April of 1865, the IOOF in Baltimore had their yearly meeting. They had delegates from all over the country, the North, the South, the West. Now, just think, they've just been through a horrible war. 600,000 to 700,000 people killed. And they started this movement to reconcile and bring the North and the South together. In fact, after this particular convocation, they had a parade in Baltimore. There was no violence or anything. So, which brings me to Cockeysville, which at the time was very divided between the North and the South. There was a Merriman, John Merriman, who was a Southern sympathizer who lived in Cockeysville. He's buried at Sherwood Episcopal Church, which is in Old Cockeysville. And he was ordered by the then mayor of Baltimore. Mr. Merriman was a member of the Maryland Artillery. And he was ordered to tear down the railroad lines leading from the north. And that way the northern troops would not be able to get into the South. And so anyhow, he was, his name was Merriman, he was arrested along with another individual who happened to be the grandson of Francis Scott Key. And they were imprisoned at Fort McHenry, that is ironic, here you have the grandson of Francis Scott Key in prison at Fort McHenry. So, and it's significant because Abraham Lincoln eliminated in Maryland habeas corpus, which means that the Union could just arrest anybody, put them in jail, you didn't have to go to court for anything. And so you go back to Cockeysville and you have these two, the North, the South. In Maryland, 35,000 people fought in the Union Army, 25,000 in the Confederate Army. So you had this tremendous split in Maryland, and this group, IOOF, brought the two sides together. And it just makes me think that I wish we had groups like that today that can do the same thing. Now, this IOOF hall in Cockeysville was actually built in 1849. The demolition permit was issued. I called the county executive. He tried to intercede, but it was too late because the owner of the building has stripped all of the outside, the siding off the building, had destroyed the second floor where they have the services for IOOF. And so when you look at it, it's just a shell. It ended up being torn down, and all you see in Cockeysville nowadays, where it was, a couple of cars parked on it. So that's what we have lost. So again, we learn from our history. And if we wipe out our history, we're not going to have a past to look at, a past to take a look at to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes again. So I guess a bit of a history lesson.
I have a question for you, Councilman.
Well,
where do I get my, where do I apply my 3 credits for the history? I need some continuing education. University of Maryland.
That's it.
That's what I apply. So, all right, so I appreciate the lecture. I guess for me, I'm just thinking 65 doesn't seem that old. Is it possible that we could have like almost like a list of interest? Because you listed these items, but I'm just thinking there's a lot of properties in Baltimore County that was built before 1965. Being a person who was just barely born in 65, it doesn't seem that old. Thank you. But I guess my question is there a way, instead of listing every property that way, is there a way, is there like some list of properties that we could say this is of interest? Because every one of these properties you mentioned was torn down by the owners.
Oh, yeah,
The
absolutely.
people who owned them,
And the
bought them, purchased them, paid
and
taxes
the
on them.
Baltimore County Preservation Alliance didn't realize that this was happening. That's the problem. Now, I understand what you're saying. And I don't know, Brad, do you know how many demolition permits we issued in your county? Okay, I think that's significant. And, I just think it's important that someone keep track of it, and someone, a group like this, can take a look and see if there is any historical significance to the building. Now, the administration has problems with the bill because sometimes they don't know when a home has been built. For instance, the home we live in was built in 1850. Yet, if you look under the Maryland Department of Assessment and Taxation, it says our house was built in 1987. That's when we bought it, but it was built in 1850. So there is some issue with determining. I mean, you can look at it and it wasn't built.
That's what I'm saying, if they could have
Yeah.
like a list of homes or buildings or structures of interest and they had. And then that list was smaller than just a blanket everything before 65.
Yeah, that's me doing inventory to see what is out there that is of some significance.
I mean, to them.
Oh, I
to the-
understand.
Yeah. not to
Yeah.
residents.
And, and it was, Howard Brown who tore down the Samuel Owens house. And
For public buildings and others, onus to engage with the historical society. So are we trying to create a private process for a requirement for private entities to engage with Preservation Society of Baltimore County?
well, if you do, let's say that they decide that this building is. Okay, then we put it on our landmarks list. And then an eligible for tax price that says that.
No, I'm saying that if the county wanted to tear down a building that the county, they have, I don't, I'm saying, like, there's a profit for public buildings, there's a shadows. I'm saying we're trying to utilize, we already have, you're talking about utilizing this Baltimore County convention lines in private tear down.
Well,
Of any building that's over.
I think that if the county asks for a demolition permit for courthouse.
Yeah, there's already something built into the law that they can't.
No, I know they can't.
Yeah, so this is for private.
It's, yeah, I don't, I mean, I guess it could apply to. I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to understand. There's a reason why there's accountability, the government for us consulting with this sort of something. We're not going to be building down. I'm saying that they can go to this, you go to the historical society, but we're not, we're just preventing.
We have to do.
Yeah, we do, but somebody can request it on the property. But that doesn't apply here. That they couldn't, you couldn't just have them do that, so then it'd be considered a store, or they would go through the process of identifying the building as a store.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about. If, okay, let's say you see this particular historic property and you know there's a demolition. I mean, you as a private citizen.
Protect the building, yeah.
I mean, you as a private citizen could go to the Administration Alliance and, fill out the documentation to make it historic.
I guess I'm not familiar with the preservation plans of the historical society, so I'm just trying to figure out the places.
The Preservation Society, the ones that investigate and then make a recommendation as to whether or not this property belongs, should be on our county landmarks list.
Okay.
And, all right.
I think there is some level of organization that way. What I mean is, if you live in a historic district, for example, and I live here, yes. And if we were to demolish, if we wanted to demolish our house, we would go get a demolition permit. And I think that I assume that it would be flagged that the demolition in the historic districts you have to go through other hoops. If we were to, no, I'm not suggesting we take that course, but just trying to understand your thinking. So in this case, you would broaden that not only to historic districts, but to other areas that are designated in one way or another.
If
No, any structure that's before 1965.
Right, so that would be the designation.
Any building that may have historic significance. I mean, it might be, okay, this house was built in 1940. And, the Preservation Bureau looks, Baltimore County Preservation Society looks at it and says, well, that's nice. And, then it goes forward. So we're not talking necessarily about a process that is going to drag things out too much, but we're looking for something that's going to preserve our heritage.
What if there were, let's say, a neighborhood of mid-city moderns?
Of what?
Of mid-city modern architecture, as you described, right? Or mid-century.
Mid-century.
And you still had a demolition permit in one of the houses, but you had 50 other houses there that would still reflect the historical context of that neighborhood. Then it could be approved, but it would still need to be flagged.
Yeah, but it would be flagged.
Your point is that flagging in the permitting process.
That's correct. So and I know the Department of Planning has an agency that looks at historic structures as well. So, they can help. Preservation Alliance can help. And the reason that I talked about the mid-century modern home in Pikesville is that house is unique in that it was designed by a well-known architect. The ones I was talking about on Milford Mill, it was a small development and all the homes are the same. And so I just want to give examples of what they are.
Gotcha.
Okay, Ted? Councilman Marks.
Thank you. First, a general comment. Thank you for your love of history. And I'm a former board member for the Baltimore County Historical Trust, which is now Preservation Alliance. I think your point about modern architecture is well taken. I often think of the best product store in Houston. Many people probably remember that, and why that could not have been adaptively reused. I have a friendly suggestion, I think, and it would be, I think you should say the Preservation Alliance of Baltimore County or a successor that has a focus on countywide historic preservation. Their name may change, they may not exist. And I just think if we're putting something in the statute, we should have language like that.
I think you're absolutely right. And just going back a little bit, when I was in the legislature, I put in legislation to fund the executive director of the, what was it called? Garden Trust. I remember meeting at Emery Grove in the hotel. That is a Methodist camp in Linden. And from the mid 1800s. And it's, have you been?
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
So it's beautiful. And these are things that we need to keep so that we, as a people, learn from the past.
I think that would be a
Taking over from there to downtown Baltimore
yeah, I think so.
back in the day.
Well, you don't remember streetcars.
San Francisco treat.
That's why it's a wonder.
But anyway, before we get to a couple of callers, I was sitting there thinking, I thought that maybe they had something similar like that today in terms of identifying properties they had interest in. Do you know any?
Yeah, well, I can explain where we are now with that. Right now, the county has basically 3 levels of preservation. We have the lowest level is the county inventory. The county has an inventory of properties, of structures rather, that potentially may have historic architectural significance. And I'm not even sure how big that county inventory list is, but I would assume a fair amount of properties are on it. And then, and if a property, and then the second level is what everyone probably is familiar with, the preliminary landmarks list. And that list is you almost can graduate from county inventory to preliminary landmarks list if certain hoops are jumped through. It meets, I think, about 4 or 5 criteria of historical and architectural and cultural significance. Then once a property is on that list, it goes to the county executive, and then the county executive can recommend it go further to the county council, and that's when you all get involved, where you don't have to do anything, and you can sort of let it lay, or you can hold a public hearing on that structure and then make a decision as to whether you believe it belongs on the county's final landmarks list. And the only way it gets on the final list is by passing a bill to put it on there. And I think there's about 400, give or take, properties on the county's final list. So, and what's important is at least without this bill, all of those levels are protected from demolition. Anything on the county inventory is flagged and goes to the Landmarks Preservation Commission for further evaluation and determination as to whether a demolition permit should be issued. But to Mr. Cash's point in his bill, there is nothing, that's as far as it goes. There is nothing that, and it depends on what your comfort is policy-wise with protecting what may or may not be historical structures. His bill would kind of go one step further and also require sort of that flagging to Baltimore County Preservation Alliance to to be notified so that if anything could be done, they might be able to do it
And
to
they,
protect that
yeah,
property.
and they asked me to put in the legislation because of problems in the past that have occurred where, and I just named some of the buildings that were removed, that slipped through the cracks. Thank you. So I know the administration has come, so I do want to work with them on it to see if we can work something out. Because I think that, I think there's great significance to preserving, obviously, historic buildings.
Yeah, tonight, I certainly appreciate your efforts and certainly a big supporter in terms of protecting our history.
Yep.
Even though I have to admit, once you go over to Europe, you see things several, like several hundred, 1,000 years old. It's like, wow, okay. But anyway, that's our history. Our history doesn't go back that far, so, we have to protect what we have. But why don't we hear from, if there's no other questions or comments, the members can certainly chime in after we hear from the callers. We do have a couple of speakers. So Ms. Beth Castro, who's our first one?
Mr. Isaac Abruzzo, and Mr. Abruzzo is on. You can unmute yourself, Mr. Abruzzo, begin your testimony.
Hello, I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Excellent. Good evening, Chair Jones, members of the council. It's good to see you again. I apologize for not being there, but I unfortunately have the flu, so I hope you'll forgive me. You're very welcome. So this legislation, I've been speaking with a number of our members, and we have some pretty significant concerns. This step, creating this 5-day wait period, potentially longer, in order for the Preservation Alliance to be notified of a planned demolition, could create new and costly obstacles to obtaining a demolition permit in a period of time where Baltimore County faces a severe housing shortage. And I know I've spoken to many of you about that, but I think I have a couple of numbers that might put it into a bit more perspective. So last year, according to National Association of Home Builder estimates, just for Baltimore County, to afford a median house in the county, your income would have to be over $1 million. A new home buyer would have to have an income of approximately $90,000, and the Baltimore County median income is $78,000, well below that threshold. Furthermore, the Master Plan 2030, which you'll all be considering very soon, calls for significant investment and redevelopment in the county over the next 10 years. Adding new and costly steps to demolition permits is in direct conflict with the stated goals of the Master Plan. We also have significant concerns about the county giving a private non-governmental organization, in this case, the Preservation Alliance, special notification privileges that are not received by other parties in the county. So it gives a single NGO significant power to disrupt and delay projects in the county and cuts out input from other parties. Finally, already encompassed within a demolition permit application system, as you've just discussed, is a process to ensure that historic properties are preserved and not allowed to be torn down. One of the many steps in the process requires the Historic Preservation and Department of Planning to approve and sign off on a demolition permit. So there's really no reason to give a non-governmental third party significant power. If they do want to be engaged in the process, I think Councilman Jones's idea was a fair one. The Preservation Alliance is perfectly welcome to review properties in the county and evaluate their historic importance and put together a list and give that to members of the Department of Planning, as a indication for which properties might require further review. But it doesn't make sense to delay the process and add cost to developers and homeowners that are already struggling to purchase housing in an attempt to preserve these properties. I, like Councilman Catch, do appreciate our history, but I'm aware that we are in a spectacular and unprecedented housing crisis. And I am concerned more for current events than I am for people that died a century ago in the Civil War. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Ms. Catherine.
Next speaker is Aaron Greenfeld. Mr. Greenfield, you are on. You can unmute yourself and begin your testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Aaron Greenfield here on behalf of the Maryland Multi-Housing Association with about 45,000 units that are owned or managed by our members. I wanted to thank Councilman Koch for his intent. I think, like the chairman suggested, this bill should be narrowly tailored and should be a little bit more focused. I echo the comments from Mr. Abruzzo and I think Mr. Ballantyne, who may be coming after me. I think that in our circumstance, if there's a fire that occurs in a building that was built before 1965, which could very well happen, and there's plenty of existing stock, we'd have to go through this process. And I sort of question, as did Mr. Abruzzo, about the Preservation Alliance for Baltimore County. It's not an organization I'm familiar with. That could be my own naivete, but I'm not sure why we're giving a third party this special treatment for the potential, from our viewpoint, to slow down or halt any potential redevelopment. Just in conclusion, just urge, similar to what the chairman said, another way of looking at this, maybe identifying specific landmarks in the county, but this process is all encompassing for every redevelopment project that involves some form of demolition. And for that, I conclude. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Greenfield. Any additional questions or comments before we move on? All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much.
Page 24, Bill 6423.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Bill 6423 expands the school-related uses permitted by special exception in the RC2 zone. Currently, schools, including schools for agricultural, private preparatory schools, business schools, et cetera, permitted in the RC2 zone by special exception. In addition to this list of school-related uses, the bill adds classrooms, lecture halls, laboratories, athletic facilities, and offices as part of the special exception uses. And again, we're clarifying there's a difference between building by right and building by special exception. I think this expands the flexibility, for example, for houses of worship that have private schools, and also in general, the county, if it has a site that would be used for a school.
We are the one for a school.
That's right.
Any
And again,
questions or comments?
and again, it's a special exception. It has to be done through special exception.
Gotcha. Any additional questions or comments from the members? Thank you, Councilman Marks. You can move on to page 25, Bill 6523.
Thank you very much. Bill 6523 permits certain uses in the CB zone of property located in the Honeygo Gateway Commercial Revitalization District. Specifically, it permits any use permitted by right or special exception in BL zone on a property located in Honeygo Gateway CRD based upon certain access requirements. And this is a revitalization district that the council created, I believe, 2 springs ago. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from the members? Nope. Move right along. Councilman Marks, you on the road.
Thank you very much.
Page 26, 6623.
Thank you very much. You may recall, those of you who were here in 2022, we had a very robust debate about limiting digital copy signs outside of the rural demarcation line. And I was on the losing side of that argument. At the request of the Greater Kingsville Civic Association, which prompted the original bill 2 years ago. I'm only seeking that restriction in the area covered by the Kingsville Community Plan, which goes into a little bit of Councilman Koch's district, but is largely in the 5th district. This is very important to that association. I think by narrowing the focus of the bill, we have hopefully addressed some of the concern from 2022.
Councilman Mark, let me just say, I wouldn't say you're on the losing end. It's all part of our evolution to get to a place that we all can agree.
That's a good way of looking at it.
That's part of the process.
Yes.
Any additional questions or comments from the members?
Yeah, Mr.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to recall, maybe Councilman Marks can remind me how this played out in 2022. It was for all areas.
Outside of the, outside the urban. Yeah.
And the sentiment of the council was not to move forward with that.
Believe so. I believe it was tabled, wasn't it?
It was tabled.
Yeah, it was tabled.
By majority of the council.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Councilman Marks. Wait, we have a speaker.
We have a speaker,
We
yeah.
have a speaker. Ms. Belcastro?
Mr. Chair, Douglas Bear is on. Mr. Bear, you're on the panel, standing to begin your testimony.
Unmute, am I there?
Yes, we can hear you and you can turn your camera on if you like.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that, so I apologize for that. Oh, yeah, I guess maybe that's it. Not that it matters. You don't need to see me, but anyway, thank you.
There we go.
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. First off, I just want to thank you. I'm going to talk a minute or so. Thank you all for the work you do. When I sit, and I don't do it often at these work sessions or any council meeting, I'm always kind of in awe of all the things that you have to deal with. So thank you for everything you do. My name is Doug Bear. I'm a member of the Greater Kingsville Civic Association, and I'm authorized on the behalf of the board to speak about this bill. It's a minor adjustment. Those of you who know that the bill or the 450.7B in depth, it's a minor amendment to that bill. The goal of the 6623 is something to clarify that electronic changeable message signs are not to be permitted in the Kingsville area. Where they have not been permitted for the last 15 years. This satisfies a goal of the county-approved Kingsville plan, which strives to cherish the special characteristics of our rural community. So we're extremely grateful for Councilman Marks and for his understanding of this issue and for his commitment to maintain the rural character of our community. Thank you all, and thank you, Councilman Marks.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Appreciate you calling in, appreciate your comments, thanking us. We appreciate it very much. Okay, I believe that's it. Mr. Marks, take us home with one last resolution, 3123.
Thank you very much.
Page 45.
Thank you. Resolution 3123 creates the Middle River Commercial Revitalization District. As you all know, this district provides incentives to property owners and businesses to project exterior existing buildings and to develop under each property. Very pleased to have the support of a number of key stakeholders from the Middle River area. There's tremendous opportunity in Middle River. Middle River has wonderful assets, waterfront, history of aviation and defense, wonderful neighborhoods, but it does need some help from the county, as many of your districts do, in stimulating some robust economic development. I know there are some voices of dissension about the exact borders of this district, and having discussions with the administration right now about where this border should be. And I've told those who disagree with the plan, certainly feel free to express it tonight. That's their right. But I think the concept is very important. So I thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the members? We have two speakers.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Marks, thank you for your work on this and your effort. As your councilmanic neighbor to the south and to the west, I wholeheartedly support your work on this, and I'm sure that you will work diligently to get the appropriate borders. I don't know where your discussions with the administration are on those, but you have a wide range of experience in these matters, and I'm sure you're going to come up with a solution and create this CRD. So I just want to let you know that I support your effort on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for the good work you and the county executive are doing in Essex to the east. So thank you.
Great.
To the west, sorry.
Ms. Belcastro?
Mr. Chair, our first speaker, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, is Sarah Kine.
Kim.
Kin, thank you.
Kim.
Sharon Kin.
I think it's Keen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the County Council. My name is Sharon Keene. I am the president of the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber of Commerce in Eastern Baltimore County. I'm here today to speak in support of Councilman Marks's resolution to establish the Commercial Revitalization District for Middle River. One of the hallmarks of a thriving community is a thriving business community. And we believe the Middle River Commercial Revitalization District will have a positive impact on both new and existing businesses in that area. The local business community and surrounding neighborhoods have waited a really long time for the redevelopment of the Middle River Depot property. Now called Aviation Station, the property's gone through a number of different owners prior to the Reich brothers taking it over in November of 2021. The Reich brothers have overcome numerous obstacles at considerable expense to bring this property back to life. The Chamber commends them on the work that they've done thus far and would like to see incentives put in place to assist them in the further redevelopment of this large and important property along Eastern Boulevard. While normally aimed at smaller Main Street type developments, the CRD designation is the only program currently available through Baltimore County that provides significant tax incentive for redevelopment. Proper utilization of the depot site will then have a positive impact on all of the businesses in that area. The existing businesses along that corridor of Eastern Boulevard and those located in the Carroll Island Shopping Center have historically served as the commercial hub for Middle River. It's anticipated that additional redevelopment projects in those areas will be necessary to ensure a quality mix of businesses and the future success of this business district. In a thriving business atmosphere, all organizations support one another. Lastly, the Chamber would like to applaud Lockheed Martin for their efforts to clean up and repurpose the Middle River property. We are excited about the potential of aerospace manufacturing continuing on this historic site. That being said, until the developer is further along, we believe it would be premature to include the Lockheed Martin property in the CRD at this time. Given the ease at which a property can be added to the Commercial Revitalization District at a later date, we recommend holding off on this property's inclusion in the CRD for the time being. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak today. Also, thank you, Councilman Marks, for introducing this resolution. Having utilized the benefits of the CRD designation in Essex over the years, we know firsthand the value this program has in helping to revitalize the business district. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Ms. Keene. Thank you so much for your comments. Next speaker is Bel Castro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, our next speaker is David Conrad. Mr. Conrad, you are.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Dave Conrad. I've spoken to you before. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before the council today. I'm a Baltimore County resident. I'm a business owner, and I live in the Bowley's Quarters community, which is one of the peninsula communities right off there, Middle River. So, just really wanted, I sent in some written testimony just for the council to look at so that I wouldn't take up too much of your time today. But really, I'm just here to ask for the support of the resolution 3123 for this proposed CRD for the area. The Middle River community has been advocating for a lot of reinvestment, as Sharon mentioned, for a long time. This is, and when I say the community, the state and county level, political representation, the business owners, the residents, the community leaders, it's been a team effort. So for me personally, the CRD is really represents an important piece of an ongoing and continuing larger plan to see reinvestment and redevelopment and have things moving in the right direction for that corridor. That proposed CRD that you guys see in Exhibit A that's attached really represents the main corridor for the community, for both the business district and also the entrance of the community. And we want this entrance as a community to be well designed and safe, accessible, and something that can kind of grow with the community as we move forward. So the CRD is a big part of that. In addition to that, Councilman Marks, our local delegates, Naraki and Shalega, community members have been working on a number of different things to improve not only the communities there, but also improve traffic safety, pedestrian accessibility, a lot of other things. So the CRD really would help us with that, and we'd like to see it move forward. The three main points, Sharon mentioned aviation station. Obviously, that's a big part of it. That project has been, worked on for a number of years to try to get moved forward, and just hasn't been successful as of yet. The Lockheed Martin company, was there, with Glen L. Martin for over 100 years. It built most of the communities that surround, the Middle River area, and that employer has vacated. So we'd like to see something that, policies that would support, future employment-driven uses for that site in the future. And then the Carroll Island Shopping Center has had a lot of, kind of not been doing the great over the past few years. It's kind of slowly degraded. Walmart's the anchor there. There's been talk of Walmart moving, over the years. It's always a possibility, and we'd like to kind of proactively try to get ahead of that before it becomes completely failed. I know Councilman Catch, I'll just mention real briefly, he talked about history a little earlier this evening. There's a lot of local history in this corridor as well. Not only the Lockheed property and the aviation station property, you've got Benji's Drive-In down there. You've got a lot of local things that, again, would benefit from this application on the main corridor and business district of the community. So I really appreciate Councilman Marks and also the Director of Economic Workforce Development, Director Wang, for working to push this forward and bringing this initiative this evening. And I hope that you guys will consider pushing this forward as Councilman Marks has presented it for the vote when it comes around.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conrad. Thank you so much for testifying. And we have one more speaker, I believe, Mr. Bob Bender. Always good to see you.
I'm old enough to be on your list.
Former deputy director of planning, right? Right?
I'm former.
Deputy
I
Director.
worked in the county for about 30 years. And it is a delight to be here, not having to answer to administration or anyone.
Thank you for your service and thanks for sharing.
So, let me say first of all, thank you for having me, Councilman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I have a few notes, not all these pages, just the first page. And I have to say, I'm the president of the Essex River Civic Council. It's an umbrella group of several community associations in the area. Those individuals are very dedicated to improving the situation in Middle River. And Middle River is, in my humble opinion, the finest place in Baltimore County to live. It has become the de facto growth area for Baltimore County because of the fact that Owings Mills and White Marsh have become community conservation areas for upgrade. So I want to thank David Marks, as Sharon and David, for proposing this. It is the right thing to do. And it'll address things like the Federal Depot property and the business along Eastern Boulevard. And as David mentioned, the Carroll Island Shopping Center, which is the Carroll Island Shopping Center. After years of inactivity at the aviation station, which used to be the old Federal Depot, it is coming to life. They recently had a lease signed for 650,000 square feet. That's a lot. But the depot is 2 million square feet. So that's really huge. So this is a tremendous step forward in Baltimore County. And we are really pleased. And they've got a lot more in the works. So things are great there. They need help. The CRD designation would substantially benefit them in their efforts to bring vitality there. It helps them to bring the additional tenants in, and plus they have pieces of property that are undeveloped and they're looking for quality tenants to come in. And they would be tenants that would be eligible for the commercial revitalization assistance, because we are commercial operations. So we're thrilled about that. It also would provide, David mentioned, help at the Carolyn Shopping Center. That shopping center is in some difficulty. And it's anticipated to have big problems if another big box comes. And the depot, the aviation station, has approval for a big box. Whether it'll be Walmart or something else, it's going to have a dramatic impact on the Walmart that's already there. So this gets us a step ahead. So we've got a program ready when that problem happens, which it probably will. And then there's all the businesses in between. If you don't mind, if I could have a few minutes, because this is a big deal to us. There are some concerns about Lockheed Martin. Okay? Lockheed Martin, as you know, has been tremendous to Mill River for the past 75 years. And it used to be Lockheed and so forth and so on. But they're leaving. For all intents and purposes, they've left. They've done a tremendous job of cleaning up the environment, which was polluted basically by Glenn Martin, but it did it for the right purposes. He was trying to win a war. And old bar at that time. So anyway, they cleaned up, but now they're leaving. And they're marketing the site for warehouses. Quite frankly, we don't need more warehouses. But bottom line is, it is not a commercial site. It is zoned for heavy industry. So at this point, there's no reason to apply a commercial revitalization district to industrial site. Secondly, they're currently working with the Maryland Aviation Administration, which owns the airport, as you know. And there is substantial pollution, contamination left at the airport from the World War II era. Lockheed Martin is responsible for that. The cost to clean it up is dramatic. Now, why do I bring this up? The Maryland Aviation Administration is negotiating with Lockheed Martin right now to mitigate their level of cleanup over at the site. And by negotiating with them, Lockheed is in a position to give them substantial portions of the existing site. Specifically, the large building that Lockheed was the resident of until they recently moved out about 6 months ago, and some of the other property around it. That property, right, like I say, would become the property of the airport. As your chairman, Mr. Cameron Jones, visited the Aviation Museum not too long ago, and he was told about how part of that negotiation may involve having a first-class aviation museum moved into that facility. And the property around there made available for a future world-class museum, if you recall. That could be not only a major asset for Baltimore, Eastern Baltimore County and Middle River, but for the whole town, right? Tremendous opportunity. I don't want to muddy that water. Let that negotiation continue. Secondly, the Essex Middle River Civic Council has filed a zoning issue. That's part of the CZMP. We see that there is a substantial amount of the land, vacant land, that Lockheed is marketing for warehouse and parking that is environmentally sensitive. It is waterfront on Lockheed Cove, Lagoon, whatever, substantial waterfront that needs to be protected, and on Cowpens Creek. So a substantial amount of the land that we're negotiating to downzone would be involved in this overlay or this CRD designation. We don't want to enhance their opportunities to defeat us in our efforts to protect the environment and downzones to some substantial portions. Now, the Civic Council is willing to negotiate to make sure that portions of it that could be used for quality industrial development, great job, negotiate that. But in the meantime, we don't want to diminish our potential for saving the environmentally sensitive areas. So in conclusion, we believe that it is inappropriate for Lockheed Martin to be added to the site. We believe it will be counterproductive to the efforts of the state of Maryland and the Essex River Civic Council CZMP request. And in the event that commercial development or other uses consistent with the commercial revitalization goals are deemed appropriate for any portion of the site in the future, we would be willing to come back and be supportive of applying CRD to those areas. Adding to a district, I believe, is much easier than creating one. In this case, Councilman Martin is doing a tremendous service to Middle River by creating this district. We only ask that he remove Lockheed Martin's portion, and you can consider it temporary, but nonetheless, take that out for now and bring it back a year from now after the CZMP is completed, after you all have decided what the proper zoning for that site is, because you'll make a decision, we make a request. All right, and at that time, if you put it in a category where it should have commercial revitalization, I will not be here to fight it, I'll be here to support it. But let it get to that stage. So, in conclusion, please just modify that one piece out. Otherwise, we 100% support David's effort. We applaud it, and we appreciate everything David has done for Middle River since, 9-10 months ago, we were added to his district. He has adopted us, and we love it. So he's been a terrific. So thank you, David.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Bob, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. And I guess I'll let you know you guys can have David.
I gotta get things. I gotta take you right.
Is it the building to the left or the right of the runway that you're talking about?
The building to the.
Yeah, the Lockheed Martin building, is it the one, is it this one or that one?
No, this one over here is the Federal Depot.
Okay,
This is Lockheed. This is the
Okay.
one that we want to
gotcha.
take out at least the time.
Okay, questions and comments, Councilman Patel?
So, Mr. Bendler, I'm looking at the map here, and it looks like that they're not contiguous sites.
They are not.
Okay.
They are not. They were both owned by the Martin Company during the war. But subsequently, it was taken over by the federal government as a federal depot. Then it was surplused about 18 years ago and sold. It has changed hands 3 times. As mentioned earlier, the Wright brothers now own it. And finally, we've got 850,000 acres, feet under lease. And that's great. And they've got more coming.
I remember when Mr. Reich presented to the council. So this is along Carroll Island, it's hard to see the map, Carroll Island Road. This is all, you do want that in the CRD.
Yeah, all the other parts, all the other parts that Councilman March has requested are well thought out and it's very appropriate.
Okay, I just want to
And
understand.
the drive-in is in that area to the east, yes, it's in there.
But
Just one, I wanted to thank Mr. Bendler, thank you for your service when you were employed to the residents of Baltimore County, when you were an employee with Baltimore County as Deputy Director of Planning, Deputy Director of Rec and Parks, and thank you to your service to the residents of Baltimore County in your retirement.
retirement is busier than I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
How about that?
But I like,
So look, we appreciate you coming here and sharing your testimony with us. Again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. I think Glenn L. Martin, that museum is a tremendous asset. A lot of people have no idea. I don't have a lot of time to go through it today, but there's so much history there that we can talk about that so many people just don't know.
I'd like to invite all of you to come down and see that museum is worth
Very nice.
So, and thank you for your visit. Thank you.
No problem. Well, any more questions, comments? I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.